Hello guys and welcome back to Behind the Dugouts, and thank you for joining me for your post-match review of Chelsea 2, LAFC 0. Biggest positive, 3 points, that's the main thing. The game itself, we were subject to a thrilling match. It was pretty much a bore fest in the first half. Chelsea throughout the whole game never really got out of second gear. There's obviously had the rumours going around where the players might be tired. It could have been the atmosphere. I mean, for every one person seated, there was about 5 to 10 missing empty seats. I don't really know what's going on there, but it was pretty much an empty stadium. Part of the reason maybe why they never felt the need to pick up the intensity. I just feel it felt very pre-season-y, which I suppose is what it's supposed to be. But let's talk about the game in a little bit more detail. The lineup is pretty much what I expected. If you go back and have a look at my previous video, I did think Maresca was going to go strong. I got about 70% of the lineup. The only ones that I didn't get was Tosin. I had Trevor Chalobah in. Lavia, I had Enzo in, and I did put Liam Delap up front. He obviously went with Jackson, pretty much went with the starters that, were the majority of last season. So it was what I expected. I expected him to go strong. Now, I would have preferred a few more, even some of the new faces, but maybe a few of the younger lads. But I understand it does show that the club are wanting to take this competition seriously, which is great. You want to go any competition that you are entered in, you want to win. So I have no problems with that. I am disappointed in not seeing Andre Santos yesterday, but he will get his time. It was good to see Darius Hugo come on though, which in his brief cameo, I think it was about 8 to 10 minutes, he come on right towards the end of the game. I think it was the 82nd minute. He did look good. He showed glimpses of what he can bring to the team. Did remind me of maybe a little bit of a John Obi Mikel kind of player who comes in and shuts up the game once it's sort of over, which was it was good to see his cameo on. But yeah, in the whole of the game, it never really got past the second gear. It just stayed at a very sort of mild, boring sort of level. There were flashes of brilliance, moments where players tried to take the game by the scruff of the neck and increase that intensity, but it never really stuck, which is slightly disappointing. Whenever you watch a match, you want to be entertained, and it's just something that didn't really happen. But the main thing is they come out with the 3 points. We move into the next game 3 points better off than we were at the start of the tournament, which is is the main thing to get out of this. Now, looking at the sort of player's performance itself, I want to talk a little bit about Nicholas Jackson, a player that has obviously come across a lot of criticism this season. I thought he started the game pretty well. His hold-up play was good. He was linking up with players. He made a few sort of runs in behind, had a couple of shots, which is good. The biggest thing I want to point out was the assist. I think the touch, the strength to hold up the ball, and the quality weight of pass to put Pedro Neto in for the first goal. It shows that because what players can do when new players come in, especially for your sort of position, it goes one or two ways. They can either take it positively and see this as a challenge for them to step up their game, or they can take it a bit negatively and they go in their shell, go in with inside themselves, and then the player just sort of starts to disappear. And luckily, at least from yesterday's performance, again, it's not the perfect performance, but it's better than what he's done recently. He showed that he is looking to take this in a positive way. He obviously started the game, and apart from scoring, he did not much else he could do was setting up Pedro Neto, giving that goal involvement to show that he's not just going to lie down and let Liam Delap walk in and take his spot, which is positive for us. Healthy competition between players is what we're crying out for. Jackson had none of that last season. The only player that was really contending with him was Christopher Nkunku, and we saw how that went. There was no competition whatsoever. So this could be really good for Jackson moving forward. One thing that was lacking was the left wing position. I think Noni had some moments where he tried to do the right thing. He was definitely looking to take on sometimes everybody with the ball at his feet. He was driving at speed. I feel sometimes his crossing was a bit wayward. It's sort of into no one. One of the points where Palmer and Jackson have run into the box and he smashed it as hard as he can across the box. It's just gone to absolutely no one. I do understand the concept of put it in the area. You might get lucky, it might take a touch. But when it comes to this level, these type of quality players that we're talking about for Chelsea Football Club, when you're in those positions and you're not under pressure and you've got two of your players making the runs into the box, you should be able to pick them out. So I do feel he did struggle a little bit in that game. It definitely shows that we do need to recruit a left wing, potentially even two. There's been rumours the last day or so of Fofana from Lyon, which looks like a very exciting and promising player, another young player. But if we're going to bring in a few, with wingers, it's a little bit different. You want youthful, quick, energetic, confident players. You're not looking for the older generation. Obviously, the older players can bring you a bit of experience, but they lose a little bit of pace with the experience that they gain as they get older. They're not as direct as they previously would have been in their sort of more younger years. So I'm not too fussed if we're looking at younger, more energetic players. When Fofana looks like a good option depending on the price, and then we're obviously still looking at Jamie Gittins, because Noni himself is actually the right-sided player. Obviously been moved over to the left to accommodate our lacking left wing situation. And to be fair, there are a few games last season where he played on the left and he looked really good. Today he didn't look up for it, didn't look at the pace of the game and struggled with his decision making. So it is an area that we do need to address relatively quickly, was what I personally think. I think defensively on the whole, goalkeeper, backline was solid. James obviously coming off at half time. Don't think that was anything other than precautionary. We know his injury record. They've done really, really well to manage it so far, and he's played more games now than he has done over the last few seasons. I think that was all a premeditated decision. The rest of the back line, solid. Cucurella, as ever, solid. Tosin, Unks, he played a solid game. Even Sanchez had a good game. No errors leading to attempts on goal. His distribution was pretty good. He had that one moment where I believe it was Bouanga, a ball over the top, he got in, pretty much one-on-one with the keeper, and he made the save with that one. So all in all, defensively, I think we were pretty solid, no real problems. And to be honest, LAFC had maybe one or two chances where they could have produced something, but other than that, it was a pretty tame performance from them. They, over the game, they did try and use their wide players, but they were nullified by fullbacks and by Caicedo. He was absolutely everywhere. There was a point where he did pull up in the second half, and I was thinking, this was about the 77th minute. I was just, Maresca, just get him off. There's no need for him to be on the pitch anymore when we've got the likes of, Darius Sugo, who then did come on about 3-4 minutes later, or Andre Santos. I think Caicedo could have come off a little bit earlier just to rest those legs. He's, again, a player that pretty much played every single game last season. So when, there was a few players that were hunched over in the second half that just looked shattered. So I'd expect in the second game, when we're playing Flamengo, I think there'll be a bit of rotation in there to give the players some of the rest, some that definitely deserve it, in my opinion. Second half, a little bit better than the first. We were pretty much in the second half just crying out for those subs to come on so we could see the new players, and lo and behold, he arrived. Liam Delap, the one we've been waiting for, the new sign to come in. We wanted to see what he was going to bring to the squad, and immediately, just when entering the pitch, you can see he takes up that central position straight away. I think within the first few minutes, he's already bodied one of the defenders onto the floor. Like I mentioned in my player breakdown video, he is an aggressive striker. He's going to, strike fear in defenders, and what better way to do it? The first few minutes, you get touch tight with the defender, stick him on the deck. and go, "You're going to have a nice evening, mate." And that's pretty much what he did for the rest of the time, bullied those defenders. And the thing that he did bring to the game, which something that we've not had for a long time, is the striker runs. And what I mean by striker runs is these intelligent line-breaking runs, peeling off the shoulder of the defender. The moment where he peeled off the left side, the left centre-back, Cole Palmer played him in behind, defender followed him, skinned him, laid it back to Enzo. Probably should have done a bit better with that, Enzo, not going to lie, mate. But those are the type of runs that Liam Delap will bring, those striker runs. Now, Nicholas Jackson provides runs in behind. 99% of the time he's offside with them. But Liam Delap's runs are striker runs, runs that they run into these channels, create the option for players to play them in behind or drag defenders away to allow that space for the wide players to cut in and potentially get a shot directly on a goal. That was what was really good to see from Liam Delap, and hopefully, again, not getting carried away, he played a small portion of that game. I'd like to see him start in the next match, rotate Jackson, give him the start, see how he, if he can still produce that same sort of energy, those same sort of runs, which I believe he will. And that's what he can bring, which was, was great to see. So with that added aggression, those different types of runs, he's there in the box when the ball was coming in. And then we have to talk about the assist. The assist quality inside of the boot, curler into Enzo, straight on the plate, touch, finish. And just a caveat to that, with Enzo, these late box runs that he's making, very Lampard-esque, and it's something that's only really come into the game for him this season, starting to do it more and more. This with him taking the more advanced role, playing in the pivot, but going forward, like I mentioned in my previous video, to alleviate that pressure for Cole Palmer. And these runs into the edge of the box, again, these late runs into the box, they're so hard for defenders to read and prevent the players from creating those opportunities. So I'd love if Enzo can continue to build on these, and he sees what he seems to be doing, and he's picking up goals. So it's all positive. And if you've got players like Delap who can pick out those passes, we've got Cole Palmer who can create those magical moments and put those balls into those areas for the players that are making those late runs. It will be something that the team can build on. And what's starting to happen is combinations are starting to develop, and they were developing as that second half was going on. One in particular, couple in particular, you had the combinations between Neto and Palmer that were developing. That right side absolutely had the beating of the left back and the left centre back. That was their side of the pitch. Every time they were going down, they were overlapping each other. They were doing little 1-2s and creating space for each other. And then the combination of Cole Palmer and Liam Delap. Now, they've obviously played together, so they've already got a bit of chemistry between them. But immediately, it didn't take time for them to settle. You can see that Palmer knows Liam Delap inside and out. He can see the runs that Liam Delap is going to make, and they got that from playing together. So that combination of those, that are starting to develop is only going to benefit the team. And I think with Palmer having a striker now that is a striker, like I mentioned, Nicholas Jackson is not a striker, he is a moulded striker, taken from left wing to be moulded into a striker. With Liam Delap, he's born and bred striker, that's where he's played, that's where he's gone through the youth ranks. And because they've had that chemistry of playing with the under-23s together, Cole Palmer and Delap, they know each other, so they know how to play with each other. They know their strengths and their weaknesses. It's definitely going to benefit us moving forward. Now, looking at the rest of the subs that come on, as I mentioned earlier, Darius Hugo came on. For his sort of little cameo that he did get, he did pretty well. Malo Gusto come on. It's a tough one with Gusto. We know how good Gusto can be if he's played in the right way that suits him. The system that Maresca played doesn't seem to suit him, with him sort of coming into midfield. It just doesn't work. He gets caught out defensively because he's coming into midfield. chance that Boanga had was a ball over the top. He wasn't sort of set, and it just went over his head, and Boanga got in behind. So I personally I still want to keep Gus. I don't think he should be sold. He is a good backup for Reece James, but I definitely think it's something that needs to be tweaked. Maybe a discussion between him and Maresca that when he's on, he needs to be making those overlapping runs on the wing, not coming inside and trying to play with the midfielders. It just doesn't work for him. And then another player that come on, which I don't understand why he's here, is Christopher Nkunku. He provided nothing really. I know it was a small time period that he come on for. He didn't even really have enough time to settle into the game, but it's just his demeanour when he comes on. He doesn't look interested. He doesn't look like he wants to be there. Everything is backwards. He's an attacking player. Likes to play, wants to play in the 10, has play up front. But for me, if you're that type of player, the first thing you do is when you've received that ball turn, can you provide a forward pass? Can you attack? Can you go forward? Not receive the ball, let's go back, let's recycle. And he does that every time. There just seems no urgency in his game. It just doesn't seem like he wants to be here, and I don't quite understand why he's here. His spot could have been given to the likes of Kendry Pires or one of the academy players that would have come in and would have ejected some energy and would have played because they want to be here and they want to earn their spot. So I'm surprised he come on, but not surprised in the way that he played, because that's how he's sort of played the whole season. So just rounding it all off, the few positives that I take out this game is, got 3 points. The combinations are starting to develop between players and looking like some healthy striker competition, which is only going to benefit the team and both those players in particular. Two, just a couple concerns I have that, can be and will be addressed is the left wing. Definitely think that needs addressing and sort of improved, and just the intensity, we need to pick it up. We will be all right in the group. The next 2 games are going to be more difficult than this one completely, but the biggest test is going to be if we make it to the quarters. We're most likely going to come up against PSG, and playing like that is not going to get us anywhere. We're going to need to improve on the intensity, improve on the all-round game. They are Champions League winners, so the test is going to be 100 times more difficult than LAFC and the rest of the group. And the next match is up against Flamengo. There will be a preview and a match review of that game. That's all from me. If you like this video, please hit that like button, comment. Feedback is always greatly appreciated, and I will catch you guys in the next one.